know. It's great.
Excuse me, look at mine.
Yours is your gorgeous bed.
Mine's my beautiful bedspread. Sorry, we're talking about our backgrounds.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Do you know that my friend Tim sent me a big list of merch ideas for us, Sarah?
Oh my God!
And
stop.
one of the ideas, because he's a major daisy, he'll be listening right now.
It.
Shout out Tim Dallin. He was like, we should get T-shirts which say hello. It's our signature way that we start the podcast.
Oh, it's such a good idea. Would you guys buy a T-shirt? And if so, or maybe a cute, like, cozy sweatshirt. How about that?
So cute.
Welcome to the Mother Days podcast. You know who we are, Sarah and Teresa, and we're here with some amazing guests today. And woohoo! And we're so excited. Here, let me pull out my little handy dandy notes. So, you know me, I'm always struggling with names. So if I mess this up, I'm sorry. But today we are so excited to have Tahyna Macmanus. Is that how you say that?
Yes,
that's it. You got it.
I was like, think hyena.
think
hyena thoughts.
And Pippy Pomeranz. How'd I do with that one?
Perfect. Well done.
Okay. 5 stars. These are these gorgeous, beautiful, amazing filmmakers. And Tez and Tahyna, I mean, Tez, you can talk about this, but you guys like first met in LA when Tahyna, you were like starring opposite, I don't know, this guy that you guys might not know, Hugh Jackman in like a movie called Wolverine. And, you know, I was reading all about you, and you left the Hollywood life because you had a passion for filmmaking. You're an actor, writer, director, producer, and you have this amazing film, the Misunderstandings of Miscarriage. Is that how you say that?
That's it. Yep.
Okay. And so I was actually watching the trailer today and completely burst into tears. It hit every single chord. For me, I'm, you know, not sure if you guys know, but I had like 3 losses in the last year before I was pregnant with this baby. And so it was just so deeply personal and beautiful to see that story out there. And it's so important. So we're so excited to have you guys today to chat.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so sorry for your loss. It's very tricky to go through. So
yeah, for sure.
But I appreciate you guys having us on. It's great to be here.
Well, T, so Tahyna, I call her T, which is so funny because my name also starts with T, and people often call me T. I was like, which T? That T or this T? You're TT.
TT.
Yeah. But Tahyna and I met so many years ago, back in LA. Do you remember? I think you were staying at Ian Thorpe's house.
I was. The big tree house.
Tree house with the crazy elevator that would take you up. And for Americans, Ian Thorpe was like an amazing swimmer. Didn't he win? He won gold.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's like pretty well known. Like at the time, he was like 16 world champion, like incredible Olympian.
Yeah. So, and you were perched in this little gorgeous treehouse, like in the Hollywood Hills. Was it Laurel Canyon?
Laurel Canyon.
Yes.
Like the most heavenly way to like be integrated into Los Angeles, to be honest. Like
so true. And we bonded. We were, you know, these young Australian aspiring actresses, and we would sit and write this movie together. Hold Me Still. That was the name of it.
Hold Me Still. We've had many tests. We've had many a script together.
We've had many a script. And we would sit and write and dream up the idea of creating. But Tahyna always had this kind of driving passion to be telling stories, to actually be the one behind the camera. I think you were always in front of the camera. I mean, for me, growing up, I used to see Tahyna and her sister Cheyenne on the pages of like Dolly magazine and Girlfriend magazine, because they were these massive teenage models, like these very famous sisters in Australia. And I grew up looking at them at the Billabong ads, and I was like, these girls are so beautiful. Oh my God, they're so tanned. And then I was like starstruck when I first met Tahyna. I was like, oh my God, you're the Billabong model that we all wanted to look like. and they had like really long hair. You need to whip out the photos. They're so good.
I wish I could find them, to be honest. They're buried somewhere deep.
I think they're on the net still. I think I found them on the net. And T just had this beautiful way. You've always had this beautiful way about you. And we were actually roomies for a period of time, kind of a transitional period of time for both of us in our lives. I know that Tahyna was really looking at like, what does the rest of my life look like? Do I want to stay here? Do I want to still be immersed in the industry? And I'd love to kind of take you back there. You know, you're having success in America, but there's just like a void. There's a feeling. And I just want to hear about that transition, that move to Australia, and then how you got into the filmmaking and ultimately made this beautiful documentary, Misunderstandings of Miscarriage.
Yeah, well, I think just like a lot of people, you go through that crossroads in life where you dedicate so much of your life to something. I was, like you said, I've been in front of the camera since I was like a little kid. But I always had a passion for directing and writing and just being behind the camera. And I think LA, well, look, not LA. I actually love LA. Sorry, that's not the right word. The industry for me was always up and down. And I found myself getting too invested and hurt. And I guess that was the one thing I always took from you, Tez, is like you always took things really on the chin and would continue going. And you were just always like, I think you were just such a beautiful friend to me during that time where I was just really lost about why I was there and why I was doing what I was doing, particularly as an actress. And, you know, I found myself just making things. And when I started making things, and I don't know if you remember, Tez, I put that play on in LA.
Yes, I remember. Yes.
And I think that was the catalyst for me where I went, you know what, I don't need to be in front. I love being behind. And it was so awesome for me to kind of realize that and realize my power. And then I met Tristan, and at that point in my life, I was like, I mean, Tez, you've always been like obsessed with kids. I've always been like, oh, like, I don't know, mate, like I've always wanted a family. But I think when I met Tristan, I was like, yeah, like I'm ready to start a family. And it was just all naturally flowed that way. So I didn't feel like I had to force anything. Whereas pre that, it felt like everything was forced. Like I'd show up to auditions, I'd get knocked back, I'd get this, and I just wasn't coping very well. So yeah, that's kind of
brutal.
It is brutal. It's brutal, but it's worth it in the end because you become the version of me now. If I could go back and tell that 24-year-old self, like, hey, guess what? Things get so good for you. Like I wish I could go back and tell her that now, but at the time you've got to go through that. So
yeah, it's so true. 24.
You just have to look in the mirror and just tell yourself.
Yeah, tell yourself now. Right? You'll feel it. The 24-year-old you will feel it.
We had a number of friends in our friendship group do the same, like you and Gemma. We had there was kind of a mass exodus from LA, like around the same time. Everyone was like, well, we're going to go raise babies back in Australia and like think about other career paths that we can embark on. And then it's been so amazing to see my friends who sort of said, I'm actually done with the industry, have such insane success in their new chosen path. And like, all of you guys have found so much success, and it was you just listened to that inner voice, which is so beautiful. And I've certainly had my wobbles with the industry over the years, and I was ready to leave when I had my kids, but there was something about it that kept me in, and I'm really glad that I could do it on my own terms. I could still have a family and still work when I wanted to work. And so now I have a good relationship with it, but I've also had real toxic moments with this industry, and and Sarah has too, and we both are in like a really good place with it now, I think, where you just find perspective, and instead of putting everything into the career and the acting, just having it as this beautiful other bonus job that we can have is really, really wonderful. And then doing passion projects like the podcast, like for you, directing, making this documentary. I remember when you had your loss, and it was so devastating because I think in our friendship group, you were one of the first people to navigate it. And I had been through a loss close to you. You and I had losses really, really close, sort of back to back. And you were so hopeful. For me, there was such hope because you got pregnant, I think, on your next cycle, next try with Echo. And can you just take us back to that? And a lot of the footage, your own experiences, you've pulled into the documentary. I'm sure that was really vulnerable to open up that part of your life and know that millions of people are going to see you in this deep state of grief.
Yeah, look, it's weird. And I'm sure Pippy can talk to this too. Like, because we are film, both of us tell our story through film. That's our medium. And so my phone became like a journal for me. So particularly that first loss, that was tricky in the sense that because I did not see it coming, and I was in LA, and I remember calling you because I knew that you had experienced a loss, and I remember being like, I don't know what is happening, and the sheer graphic, it was just quite a visceral experience. Like it was just, and so it was really hard to deal with. And at the time, the healthcare system was, it was bad. It was really bad. I went to a hospital. They stuck me in a waiting room. I was bleeding everywhere. I was ignored. I think just the sheer devastation of telling all your friends and family, then losing that child was just so traumatic for me. And then, so my phone weirdly became a solace for me. And a lot of that stuff that you'll see in the documentary is, and Pippy, you were the same, you had your phone, like it just becomes your tool. And because it's just you and your phone, weirdly, you're not thinking that, oh my God, everyone else is going to be watching this. Like it's just you and your phone. So it's weird now when I reflect back on it. And I haven't watched the film, to be honest, since I delivered it, because it was just like my way of closure. But yeah, it was just a way for me to tell my story. But also deep down, I was like, look, if I can figure something out with these videos, maybe I can help one other woman and be worth it, you know?
And Pippy, did you want to talk to us a little bit about your experience and how you found solace in each other and how you held each other throughout that?
Yeah, it was, look, I'm always behind the camera. So for me, it was, it's a big stretch for me, but the biggest thing was to tell my story to help someone else, just like T just said. And for me, that when, I don't know, we lost twins at 23 weeks via surrogate, and they were both alive and died in my arms. And so for me, and my journey was a 10-year journey of just, I could do everything else in my life except become a mother. And it was one of those most frustrating things. I'm like, okay, so how am I going to become a mother? I had to produce these babies and motherhood into my life. So we were living in LA at the time and ended up going down the surrogacy route, but that was our journey. And when the surrogate called me and said, I'm going into early labor, I was just like, I cannot believe this is actually happening to me at this point of time. And after all of the stuff, but what I found the most surprising community was a global community, and half of the people I didn't know that just when I put my story out there, and I didn't know how to do it, but I let sort of people know via, I think it was a protective mechanism too. I just sort of put that we'd lost Parker and Ellie out onto Instagram, and the community and the love that I got back and the conversation that it opened up was so incredible that it got me, I was down for a while. But then it was that I couldn't have their legacy be this deep-seated grief. And so that sort of conversation led to sort of me meeting, like talking to Tahyna and actually sort of going, okay, this is way out of my wheelhouse, but I will do this and I will put our story out there, because if we can help one person, that they're not alone, two people, and the outpouring of love that this beautiful film that Tahyna has created, and community that we're all in this together, and there's a wonderful hope to my story, because we literally, we got another surrogate and I had 3 embryos left. The first embryo didn't work and I found out again that we weren't pregnant on Mother's Day. And then we did the last 2 embryos and the doctor was like, just put them both in. And I was like, I cannot be twins again. They were. And I didn't tell anyone we were pregnant. Oh my God. The whole pregnancy. And now we have beautiful Hunter and Andy, who are 6 years old now.
Oh my God. And they're boys or boy girl?
One of each. We've got one of each. I know. And so
your
this
angel
just
babies totally like took care of them from the other side. Honestly. And like helped them through.
Sometimes I think they just went up and came right back down.
In.
Like I just,
Sarah and I have full chills. Sarah and I talk about that all the time. Like, the babies that we're pregnant with, are they like the little rainbow babies that we're like, oh, actually, this is the body. This is the body we want to come in. I know. I love that. I'm like, oh.
I know. And the Hunter's first word was star.
What?
Yes. No word
full
of
body chills.
A lie.
Oh my God.
For real. So that's I've got one little one. She's right there. She's
sick. I saw a little like head with some headphones on.
That's the juggle of motherhood, right? We all know. I was like, what?
My kids are on the TV right now. I ran in. I was like, I've got to record a podcast. Put on a show. I don't care. Go for it.
That's exactly what's happened on this side of the world here too.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Of course. And you'll see in the documentary more of that, right, T? And these amazing struggles and hope from other couples and
for
other
sure
people.
I think that's the one thing with this documentary, and particularly because it's taken me 5 years to get it out internationally, because it is a scary topic. People don't like to talk about it. And Kelly, my producer, and I have fought so hard to have this film be accessible to women, because it sounds like, a lot of people are like, oh, that's dark, that's heavy, it's a sad story. And I was like, it's actually not. It's actually not. Our goal is to educate families, help them, give them the tools, help women who are grieving loss, help families understand loss. But it was a huge, and for me, we have a whole bunch of different women and stories and families come in who share their experience. And a big part of me was to show the facets of grief. And, there's no hierarchy of grief. So whether you lose a baby at 2 weeks versus 23 weeks versus 38 weeks, it's still a loss to that family, to that person, and you have to be able to grieve that loss and be okay with it. And then the second part is that the blame that women put on themselves, like this idea that womanhood and motherhood are synonymous. Like you are by no means a failure as a woman, that if you can't get pregnant. And that was I saw women break down in front of me because it's like something's wrong with them. Like there's nothing wrong with you. Like it's just so, it was just trying to educate people. But ultimately the film has a really hopeful message, and I understand that. And Pippy's the same. We have, you guys are the same. We are blessed. We have our babies. I have 3 beautiful kids. And there's a lot of women who don't get that happy ending. And so I want to acknowledge those women too, that it's okay, and it's okay to sit in that grief and process that grief however long you need and however way you can. And thankfully there's some changes happening now, like a Pink Elephant Support Network and Bears of Hope and SANS. There's so many organizations now that are supporting women through this. That wasn't part of my journey at all, only
Neither.
9 years ago, like
Same.
wasn't there.
It was also for the guys, the men, because you think we're going through it, but the men go through, our husbands, our partners, it's just, they feel so helpless. So this is, after seeing the doco, my husband felt like he had a community. It was really interesting. And so I just wanted to add that in too, that was a really beautiful thing too.
I totally hear that. And I have to say that, you talking about how hard it was to get it out internationally, the very first thing, like when I had my first pregnancy loss, the very first thing I wanted to do was like Google information about it, like read everything I could about it, see things about it. Like I wanted to know more. I wanted a deeper understanding. I had no understanding for why I had a pregnancy loss. But what I knew is that I felt really like confused. And also there's a million questions that come up in your mind. Like, will I ever get pregnant again? Do people get pregnant really fast? Like, is it, this type of, is this a specific kind of pregnancy loss, at this like amount of time? And then what's interesting is because that happened to me once, like before my third child, and then it happened to me 3 more times after my third child. And the 3 times, every time it was the same thing. Like I wanted to like read information, go to, there's a book that Teresa and I wrote, and we have a pregnancy loss chapter. And even though we wrote the chapter, I'm still picking up and I'm reading the words because I'm like, I need it. I need the information to help hold me and support me. That is my community. That is like, something that makes you. And so just the idea that people don't understand, like, I remember seeing in your trailer even where you're writing like 1 in 4, like that's just so many people that are going through this, and you really do want, like you feel so lost when you don't have information, when you don't know. Yeah.
And it was a taboo. Like, thankfully, I do believe that the conversation is changing. Yes. But at the time, like, and I remember pitching the film and trying to talk, people like, well, who will want to watch this?
1 in 4.
1 in 4
women.
That's an audience right there. Hello.
Yeah. And yeah, like it's, like you said, I think we're all searching for information and it can be a little bit overwhelming. And sometimes you just kind of need to talk with someone who's with lived experience to kind of process it. And I guess that's what's beautiful now is people are talking about it. And that was the one thing with Tez, like Tez and I really connected on that part. Because I didn't have anyone to talk to. Everyone was like, I remember calling my mum and she was like, what do you mean? You're 28. Like, what do you mean you've lost the baby? Like, yeah. And I remember being like, what does that got to?
Well, what does that mean?
What has that got to do with it? Like, like I remember being so confused, and then and chatting with Tez, and I don't know if you remember Tez, but I remember like calling you and being like, "What do I do now?" And you were so helpful, just in terms of just see what happens. Like right now you're grieving, just get through it, be with Tristan. And you were so calm through it. And sometimes you just need to hear that. You don't need to hear, oh, it could be this, or here's more information. Like you just need to feel it.
And it's such a club that you don't want to be part of.
And you don't believe it's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Even when it's already happened, you still don't believe it's going to happen again,
My loss last year, I just told everyone I was pregnant from, 6 weeks or 7 weeks, because I just assumed I've had 4 beautiful, healthy children. Yeah, well, obviously I'm having this baby. So I just went and told everyone. And I found that was the hardest part. I think T, you said you went through that too. And Pippy, you did as well. And I know you were further along into your pregnancy, but
doesn't matter.
I told everyone. And then I had to do those texts to all the people. And then I ended up talking about it, and it was really cathartic to talk about it on the podcast last year. But then people I had forgotten to tell, like my sister said to me, I just saw my sister and I hadn't seen her since Christmas. And she said that she was expecting me to have a massive belly when she saw me. And she just didn't say anything because she was like, oh, did you see, she said to my other sister, oh, did you see Teresa? Is she so fat and massive? And my sister's like, no. She was like, oh yeah, she's pregnant. And then, they're my half sisters. I don't speak to them all the time. So they just didn't say anything. And when I just recently saw her, she was like, so what happened with that baby? And I was like, oh my God, I just didn't remember who I had told and who I didn't tell. And then that was the kind of most painful part of it. And I was like, oh, well, obviously, I lost that baby. That's why I'm not pregnant now. And then I was able to call her just recently and say, actually, I'm pregnant again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found that painful.
And it is tricky for family members. Like that was all like a question I get asked all the time is like, what do families say? Like what am I supposed to say? And I'm like, well, if you think about it on terms of I can hear little voices. I'm
like, who is that?
It could be me. I don't know.
Oh my God. Yes, you can have crackers. Just slide
the ice block, Mom.
Oh my God. Just slide my door again, darling. I'm just in the middle of the recording. Ask Forrest to get you crackers. You can have anything. Take whatever you want. The Golden Gate time is fine. I'm like,
the packet of Tim Tams. Go for it.
I was like, Golden Gate times, have the ice cream. I don't care. Just please let me work.
I know. I was like, I'm recording a podcast, and Esme goes, okay, great. So I'll turn on a movie for me and Winter. And I was like, yeah. Is that the protocol?
I think kids, they actually appreciate it when you're like, Mummy's got to work from home today. They're like, yes. I get to have all the cookies.
I know. It's so true. Oh my God.
So a lot of people, they ask, they like, what do I say to someone who's experienced a loss? And I'm like, if you think about it as any other loss, if someone was to lose their grandmother and there's varying ways. Some women I spoke with were like, I understand it was a block of cells, and some women are very pragmatic. And then other women are so invested in the future projection. So you have to treat it all with dignity and respect. Like that, it just gets down to those basic fundamentals.
And another thing I'm going to point out that I just recently did was, and Pippy, maybe you experienced this. Maybe you can talk about this as well. I was like, I have a girlfriend who's been trying to get pregnant for a really long time. And she's now like in her mid to late 40s, and she's still going at it. And it's a really hard journey for her. When you, as a friend, find out that you are pregnant and you have friends in your life who are trying to get pregnant, the way in which you give that news to that person has to be done with such a delicacy that I actually researched it beforehand. I'm a part of, Sarah always laughs at me, I'm a part of
Reddit
this,
group.
My Reddit communities and I'm a part of so many forums and stuff. Anyway, there's a pregnant.
No, she's an AOL, like, you know, the old school, like me in the AOL chat. She was like,
I'm a part of all these groups.
So surprise me.
In my pregnancy after loss group on Reddit, I like chucked it out to the gang and whatever, like, how did you appreciate being told when your friends were pregnant? And something that a lot of people said was, never do it in person to that person, never do it in a public place where they're around other people and it's like a public announcement and they're just a part of the 20 people like hearing. So in a surprise way, the best way to do it is send a voice note where you say, like, I wanted to let you know this, like, so you can like receive this information in the privacy of your own home. And also, like, I understand and recognize that this might be a painful thing to hear. And I was able, with my friend, I was able to relate to her and say, there have been times on my journey where other people's pregnancy news wobbled me, and I wanted to just like be delicate in the way. And my girlfriend was like, thank you so much for the way you told me this. And I didn't see it on social media and I didn't hear it this way. Like, thank you so much. And it's inspiring me and I'm excited and I'm hearing this news and I'm thinking about like when it's my turn to give you the message. And that's something you don't even think about. And I only know this because I'm a part of this group, and other women have reflected to me how painful it was when their best friend or their sister-in-law or their sister got pregnant really easily and didn't have a miscarriage and didn't have a loss. Pippy, for you, how was that experience for you? Did you have people in your orbit getting pregnant really quickly and easily?
Yeah, I did. And I think first and foremost, what a beautiful friend you are to even be as considerate to like do that, because that is completely the way in which to go about it, because you can hear it and you can digest it and you can quietly sit in your grief and your process and then spread the love and be happy for your friend, so that's perfect. I think that, look, for us, I had a best friend at Cedars at the same hospital who had her baby the same date as Parker and Ellie. So that was extremely difficult. Now, I went and held the baby about 3 weeks after we lost Parker and Ellie. And that was just one of those things that I was like, it's just going to be healing. For me, I think also seeing people announce their pregnancy on social media, I get really panicked and concerned for them. Like I go through this like, oh, you're only 6 weeks. Oh, please, and I just send it up. I'm like, okay, please, just hopefully everything's okay. But I think for me, it was just, I really just sat with it and I was happy for everyone. But I was just miserable for myself, truthfully, it's just, it was always, why am I going through this? Why is this our journey? Why is this our process? What can I do to fix this? All of that. But I think going back to the way in which you do handle that, like that, it's so beautiful. The voice note is the way to go for sure. 100%.
Yeah, because then they can answer in their own time. Correct. Or apply in their own time. And also they're not having to put on a front in front of you. Oh my God, that's amazing. When on the inside, it's like a feeling of longing or whatever.
To digest.
100%. And, that is one of the greatest things I have got from this community. The one that I'm on frequently at the moment is pregnancy after loss, because there's these great daily threads where people can dump their anxiety each day. And you see it when women are 38 weeks, 30 weeks, 6 weeks, they've just got their BFP, their big fat positive. You see the whole journey of this anxiety when you are pregnant after you've had loss, and hearing these stories, and some of them, the pregnancy won't continue again. And some of them, they come back and they do these things called graduation stories, where they get to graduate from the thread, which is really so beautiful. And they get to like say, this was my birth and this is my baby. And they're all so hopeful. How was the experience for both of you guys and Sarah too? Like I'd love to just open up that conversation. When you become pregnant again, did it feel tainted in some way? Like, I think with my first, it was just like, I just didn't even think about, I just did not think that this could end without me having a baby in my arms. I didn't realize that. Like, how has that experience been since we've all been pregnant after loss as well? Has it taken a little bit of the joy out of it?
Yeah, look, I think I guess I can speak from my experiences. I fell pregnant with Echo straight after my first loss, and there was definitely some fear, but I totally embraced that pregnancy, and I was just so incredibly excited.
Yeah.
The 2 losses after Echo rocked me to when I was pregnant with my middle son, Oshin, where I really struggled through that pregnancy. And then we had a whole bunch of complications, which is in the doco, where I got diabetes, and he had the ventricles of his brain were, there was just some misinformation, but there was just worry about his health. And so a whole bunch of stuff happened. And so that was really anxiety ridden. And then I delivered the film, and literally the day I handed over that hard drive, like, here's the movie, I found out I was pregnant with my third. And I was like, oh my goodness. And that was that, because of just everything I'd been through, I was actually really relaxed. I was really relaxed with whatever the outcome. I was like, either this is going to be or not be. And I think that's just because I did all that work. Yeah. So that was my experience.
Well, for me, I had a completely different one due to the fact that I wasn't able to carry the babies. So I became this control freak, I think.
Yeah, sure.
But our surrogate lived in San Diego. So I was like, bone broth. She had bone broth. I put her on. I took her out of her work. She was on bed rest because of what we had been through. I had a Reiki healer come in.
Yes.
Like, I did the full thing. Anything that I could do possibly that could help her cocoon the babies to safety. And I think for me, the joy came as soon as I had them in my arms. And Hunter was in the NICU at Cedars for 5 weeks, only because they were little, but he just wasn't feeding. But when I got them home together, the joy kicked in. And I think from that moment on, every day with them is just the joy in the journey for me kicked in once I got them home for me, you know.
Oh, once they were in your arms.
Yeah.
Oh, that is, just the idea. As soon as you were saying, like, for me, I was a control freak, I was like, yeah, I would have been too. Are you kidding? Like, the idea of not, like, knowing every second of every day of what's happening while your babies are growing. And, like, I'm sure that's really difficult.
Want them to live with you and be next to you at all times.
Yeah, you want to just be like, what exactly?
It's wild.
I'm sure.
It's so literally out of body. Like, it's literally. It's just, but being in the States, we were living in LA at the time, and it was pre-COVID, you know, and I'm just feel so blessed that we got to do this before COVID hit, and and also have the ability to have surrogacy be such a business transaction, as well as obviously these women are just insanely incredible. There needs to be I want to advocate for a national surrogacy day just before Mother's Day, because it's like these women made us become mums, you know, and like it's just, they're just angels on this earth.
And it is a different experience in Australia, isn't it? Because I think in Australia it can only be altruistic.
Yes.
Like it cannot be a business transaction. No money can be exchanged. And so I know a lot of people here in Australia like are really struggling to find surrogates, because you have to have someone just volunteer and be like, oh, I'll do that for a person.
Yeah. And there's so much that can go awry with that.
Legally, you know, and everything. Yeah, of course. For me and for Tez, I know, because we've talked about this so much on the podcast, there was a big part of it where we sort of leaned into this spiritual side of ourselves, where we were like, you know, really connecting to, or trying to connect to, what we could feel on the other side, like these souls. And, you know, we were like interviewing mediums and baby mediums and like, you know, just like tarot card readers and like, okay, what do you got for us? And I've actually found that to be it's another piece of control, I think, but I found it to be so beautiful, because there was stuff that I would feel, and then I would like talk to someone and then really feel validated in what it was that I was already feeling and had not expressed to them, you know? And so then for when I had my the last loss before I got pregnant this time, and I said this on the podcast, but just to say it here, is that I had this feeling that you had, Tahyna, where I was like, you know, even though I took this pregnancy, you know, one day at a time, when I had the loss before this, I remember a peace like coming over me the night that I found out that I had lost this baby. And I just had this feeling like it was like something was on me saying, it's coming right back in. Like this is happening right away. And I hadn't felt that before. Before I was like, I'm not sure. Like, how long is it going to take? And like, is this going to be,
You still seemed pregnant to all of us.
Totally.
I
was like,
that.
I still feel pregnant. I kept saying like, I still feel pregnant. And I went and got my like D&C. And then I was just like, I don't know. Like people would come up to me and be like, wait, you were just pregnant, right? And I was like, yeah, I was. I just had a pregnancy loss. But little did I know I was actually pregnant again. It was like just right after my D&C, I got pregnant again. And that's what I had sort of been told in this like, under the moonlight moment in my bedroom. As I was laying there, I had this feeling like, yes, that was going to happen. And it was just magical. And I think that spiritual side, leaning into the universe and to the other side, is another element in this grief that has helped me so much, whether it's pregnancy loss, losing my dad, losing friends, but like understanding that there's just so much more out there that we don't know, we don't understand, has been a piece that I think has really helped hold me through all of these things. So I'm curious to hear from you guys, like, was there an element of that in any of yours experience?
Yeah, I had a healer in LA. Yeah. And she came to the house and we did a lot of energy work, calling in, and I had we called in the golden light and I held each of them in my sacred spot because again, me not carrying the twins was a very strange, it was just a connection and trying to call whatever in, and they were there. Doing that work was so connective to the other side that I just wanted to call them back and call them home and call them in and just say that I love them and that it was okay, that it wasn't their time, but that I'm ready. So please come back to me. And please come back in. And they did. But Sarah, I love that you did because it really works.
Yeah.
For me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think. I guess like I'm a pretty deep person, but I'm very logical. So I get very like in my head a lot. And I think the way that I kind of saw it come full circle was this idea of honoring the loss, which I didn't realize I was doing naturally by creating the film, to be honest. And that was sort of the final message of the film was we did like a flower bed and that still didn't feel enough. And then like I said, when I delivered that film, everything kind of made sense. Like everything that I went through made sense. I was like, oh, I get it now. And I'm at peace. But certainly, I don't know. I think I had a little bit of a different experience where I was too in my head. I was constantly trying to find solutions and like become practical. But I think there's something really profound in if you can own that, whatever that gut feeling is, and listen to it when you're in the state of wanting to. And, we see it happen to a lot of women. They get in that crazy cycle of like trying to fall pregnant and like sex doesn't become fun anymore. It's like, it's quick. It's 5 o'clock. I'm going, let's go. Like, it's
God. That was me.
Like,
yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just it kind of, if you can connect back into that thing. And I wish I maybe had a little bit more guidance in that, but certainly I think maybe it was divine intervention, if you want to call it that, of me making the film.
I agree. And can you tell everyone, because now you got the exciting news that this gets to be put out there worldwide.
I know, yeah. It's amazing.
How do people see this documentary?
So it's available on Apple TV, YouTube,
Amazing.
and Amazon Prime and Tubi. So yeah, so please, you can rent or, whenever you need it, please share it to friends and family as well who might not even be experiencing loss, but maybe they can understand what you're experiencing to help you through it. So
it's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing it with the world and sharing your vulnerabilities, and both of you for your stories.
Well, you too, Tez, like your stories in the film. So it's like, so it's so nice. So
it was such honestly, it was an honor to share the story, and like what a platform to be able to put that out into the world and like help people feel less alone, because that's the hardest part of it. Is when you just feel so alone in these feelings. But you guys are incredible. T and Pippy, where can we find you on social media?
Oh, I'm just Tahyna Macmanus. That's pretty basic. But I only have one. I'm only on Instagram. I'm on nothing else. So
Tahyna Macmanus. Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm Pippy Pom on Insta.
Pippy Pom on Instagram.
She's so cute.
Yes.
She's so cute.
So you guys can follow these ladies to stay tuned with all the news on the documentary, hear more about their lives, and they're just beautiful, gorgeous Aussie gals, my gal pals. Thank you for spending your time with us today.
Yes,
thank you so much, you beautiful women. Thank you.
Safe passage when you get there to both of you.
Thank you.
So appreciate it.
All
right. Well, you guys have been listening to The Mother Days. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And the link to the film will be in our show notes, so you guys can go check that out. Thank you guys so much. Bye.
Bye.